Folks, thanks so much for joining the Digital Weather Desk powered by Century Next Bank. I'm Jared Floyd. Normally, Saturdays are a pretty chill day here, but obviously not the case today. And so while this isn't a full-blown forecast, I did want to take a look at some of the updated information as we lead into the potential for showers and storms later today and the potential for strong to severe storms as well. A look at the radar, and again, most of what we're seeing right now, thunderstorm-wise, is across the Ozarks and stretching back through portions of the Red River Valley. In fact, just hearing that the Arkansas Razorback game in Fayetteville has now been pushed to 4:30 because of storms that are starting to move into northwestern Arkansas. So again, that's kind of what's ongoing right now. Nothing really in our area in the short term. We don't expect activity to pick up until later on this afternoon. Check of the visible satellite, and you can see some pretty pronounced gaps in cloud cover across our region, which will allow us to warm back to near 90 degrees or in the low 90s as we head through the next few hours. And that helps to destabilize the atmosphere ahead of this advancing cold front, kind of sets the ingredients in place for storm potential as we go later into the day. Severe thunderstorm watch is out until 6 o'clock tonight. That's to our northwest in the counties in yellow across northwestern Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma and southern Missouri. Obviously, that does not impact our area, but it's the first watch of the day and kind of a sign of what's to come across a good chunk of the lower mid-Mississippi valleys as we go through the daytime hours as well. Latest update from the Storm Prediction Center. Again, the Day 1 outlook, as it's called, now includes the entire coverage area under a slight risk level 2 for strong to severe storms today. And we can break down those the hazard levels, the hazard probabilities, possibilities, if you will, as we go through the next 24 hours or so. The wind threat is the main threat. Again, I don't want to get into too much in the specifics in terms of what these maps actually mean. Just, again, consider the fact that a higher percentage just means a higher likelihood of seeing those types of threats. And a 15% threat essentially means that you have a 15% chance of seeing a severe wind gust within 25 miles of a point within that 15% risk area. And so, again, it gets kind of hairy when you try to interpret that. So, again, lower percentages obviously mean less of a threat. Higher percentages mean higher of a threat. Normally, a slight risk is going to coincide with about a 15% wind threat. Tornado threats, a slight risk is usually going to fall in line with about a 5% tornado threat, or in some instances a 2% tornado threat. Most of us are under that 5% tornado threat. Again, that does not guarantee that any area is going to see a tornado. But again, general makeup is clusters of storms that will develop, and then eventually maybe a line of or a complex of storms that will move east and southeast through the area. Will northeast Louisiana get hit by storms today coming in late? You're not late at all. We're just getting started, and we're about to get into all that stuff, so you haven't missed anything. The one thing that has changed with this latest outlook is the hail threat has been boosted a tad. It's not necessarily exceedingly high, but this just advertises the possibility that some of the strongest storms, and perhaps some of the storms maybe even supercellular at times to start in the western counties and parishes, and those areas could maybe see some severe hail, quarter size or larger. That's a possibility. So here's a look at Futurecast, and I'll get to the storm timing window in just a minute, and you'll kind of see why we've modified. You see here why we've modified the timing window from what I posted this morning, is we just have these little clusters of storms that are trying to develop during the mid to late afternoon hours in the far western counties and parishes. There's no guarantee that those will be severe, but that, again, is the earliest arrival time that I could really suspect to see storms developing in those regions. And I also bumped that up, that arrival time up, because I know that we've got SAU and Arkansas Tech playing in El Dorado this afternoon, and so I know a lot of folks will be in and around El Dorado kind of for the game. Lightning's going to be a possibility. I'm not guaranteeing it. There's still a decent chance that storms develop a little bit later, 2, 3, 4 hours later, and not only the game in El Dorado, but also the UAPB game in Pine Bluff against Grambling, and then the ULM game against Troy. Those also have chances of getting through without any lightning delays. It's a possibility. But it's also a possibility that these storms kind of roll in during the early to mid-afternoon hours, or mid to late afternoon hours, and cause some issues. We put it forward into the late afternoon, early evening time frame, and you can kind of start seeing things get a little messy. The one thing that I will kind of draw attention to is these areas out ahead of the clusters of storms that keep trying to develop. That's that zone where we would watch for the potential of supercell thunderstorms. Again, it's not necessarily a high likelihood, but it's a possibility given the environment that's in place and kind of the makeup of this cold front. Those would pose a higher tornado risk if they can form. But again, there's a lot of question marks regarding how that will materialize through the day. The main concern is going to be a complex of storms or a large cluster of storms, kind of what's advertised here. And again, this is just a computer model, so don't take into account the fact that things can arrive later or they can look differently or impact different areas. But it kind of illustrates the general thought process of how things will evolve as we go through the rest of the afternoon and evening. Going into the late night hours, we start getting more of the Mississippi Valley involved, some of our southern counties and parishes, and you start seeing this stuff advancing farther eastward and southeastward. So that's something to keep in mind as we go through the rest of the evening. And then the last of the storms exiting the Mississippi Valley probably by around midnight or shortly thereafter. And then a very quiet and very pleasant Sunday. The sky should clear rather rapidly, and most of us should be greeted by sunshine by then. Here's a look at the lightning product. And again, severe thunderstorms and lightning, obviously, they kind of go hand in hand, and so that's something to keep in mind. LSU versus Texas A&M game. Which game are we talking about here? Because LSU's playing Vanderbilt right now. I'm just checking back through here to make sure that we're not... okay, we got that squared away. That's next weekend. They're playing Vanderbilt right now, and I believe they're winning. But anyway, look at Futurecast lightning. And again, this lightning, thunderstorms... as I mentioned, kind of go hand in hand, and that's why I'm kind of worried about El Dorado and southern Arkansas mid to late afternoon. And then as we continue to advance deeper into the evening, obviously thunderstorms will start to overtake more of the area, and so again, you can see where there's lightning concerns in terms of what we're going to be running into with outdoor plans. I know that we've got events in Lincoln Parish this afternoon. We got it's fall and it's outside. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on, so that's something to keep in mind. Betty asked about wind speeds. Obviously, thunderstorm gusts severe thunderstorm wind gusts are 58 miles an hour or higher. Obviously, non-thunderstorm or thunderstorm wind gusts, I would expect 30 to 40 miles an hour routinely, but obviously the highest gusts could reach severe levels, and there's the obviously the concern there. Most of our non-thunderstorm winds will probably stay in the 10 to 15 mile an hour range through the chunk of the afternoon. A check of what we are meaning when we look at these risk levels, the slight, moderate, enhanced, all that stuff when it comes from the Storm Prediction Center. We are in that level 2 slight risk, meaning that scattered severe storms are possible. Oftentimes, as you get higher in risk level, it means more prolonged, more widespread, and in many instances more intense thunderstorms. We're on the lower end of a large spectrum of severe weather threats, but we are still in a severe threat nonetheless. And so what you can see there is short-lived and or non-widespread isolated intense storms possible. So just because of slight risk, we've seen some of our busier days on slight risk days. So just, again, keep that in mind. Here's a look at the storm timing. I tweaked this quite a bit from where we were yesterday just because of the orientation of how storms are going to get going, and we've bumped the time frames up a little bit, and I know for folks that have outdoor afternoon plans, they're probably not happy to see that, but again, just kind of want to alert you as early as possible. I would not be surprised to see a storm or two as early as a couple of hours from now in the western counties and parishes, moving eastward as we move into the late afternoon, early evening, and then along the Mississippi Valley as we go through the night. Rainfall, storm-driven rainfall. Obviously, much of the area needs rain, but this won't be the most beneficial rain that you will see, and it's simply because, unfortunately, heavy rainfall, storm-driven rains atop some dry, compacted soil is going to lead to some runoff pretty quickly. And that also leads us to the excessive rain outlook, which means that some thunderstorm-driven rains, piece of fuzz on the microphone, ew. Thunderstorm-driven rains could lead to some localized street flooding and flash flooding. So keep an eye on that as we go through the day as well. That's pretty much what I have for you. I just wanted to kind of bring you the latest information, give you a time window. Everything that you saw this morning in terms of the big, long text article that I posted out this morning on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and all those places, most of that stuff is still sufficient. Not a whole lot's changed from the forecast there. So how do you prepare for something like today? Review your severe weather safety plan with your family. That way everybody knows where to go if a warning's issued. And if a warning is issued for your area, act quickly and calmly. Have multiple ways of receiving warnings. In many instances, we say NOAA weather radio. Obviously, I will be providing warning information here and on my social media feeds. Again, you'll get auto feeds on Facebook and X. If you follow me on those platforms, the warnings and watches as they're issued will automatically post. So you'll see those, and they come out pretty timely. But also, if live streams are needed, we will provide those later today. Apple users can download the app. Just search Digital Weather Desk in the App Store. You may have to scroll a little bit, but you'll find it. Oh, I guess I can keep going on down the list. Be familiar with your surroundings. I know this sounds kind of elementary and silly, but there's a lot of folks. There's a lot of folks in town from out of town. Whether you're somebody from Troy that's coming in for the game, whether you're coming in this area for work or whatever. A lot of folks are just not familiar with where they live, and so if you're seeing this or you're with us for the first time, I don't like to shame folks for not knowing where they are on a map or something like that, because that's not cool. So if you see it in the comments later today, and somebody asks, hey, where is this in relation? Help them out. I mean, we all know this area, and if there's somebody that's new to this area, help them along the way. Know where you are in regards to north-south of I-20 or major highways. Know where you are in your parish or county, whether you're north, south, east, or west. Familiar roads, towns, nearby areas, neighborhoods, stuff like that. Be familiar with that stuff so that if we get specific later tonight, you'll know what we're talking about. Obviously, stay alert with the latest weather updates, and go ahead and charge your mobile devices and cellular devices just in case you lose power. I'll be here all day to provide more updates as needed as we go through the next several hours. That pretty much does it. Like I said, I just wanted to kind of bring you the latest updates, especially as we approach halftime of the LSU game, and folks are like, hey, what's going on with the weather stuff? This is what's going on with the weather stuff. So I will keep an eye on things, and as watches and warnings get posted, if they get posted later today, I'll let you know about those as well. You can always check the latest forecast, latest radar at digitalweatherdesk.com. Download the Digital Weather Desk app. Apple users, it's available now. Android users, it's coming soon. I know you're kind of bummed out. I'm bummed out. I'm an Android user. But we'll get there. I promise. And also, that's it. That's it. Thanks so much for stopping by the Digital Weather Desk powered by Century Next Bank. We'll provide more updates through the rest.